for Mike Tomlin's job a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know, they haven't lost since they did that. Unsportsmanlike is on ESPN Radio. We're on the ESPN app. Shout out everybody watching ESPN2, ESPNU. You can listen on SiriusXM Channel 80. Emmett and I are presented by Progressive Insurance. I'm Aaron Goldhammer. He is Emmett Golden. We're in for Evan Canty and Michelle. Emmett, one of the strangest endings to a football game that I have ever seen. And I'm going to say, for the officiating crew, okay, number one is communication is key in your job.
Yes, it is.
So no one knows what the heck happened at the end of this Lions-Steeler game. There was a lateral, sort of, that ended up in Jared Goff's hands. Mm-hmm. He runs it into the end zone. And Lion fans are wondering, is that a touchdown? There's confusion. Did we win? Did we lose? The official grabs the microphone. The first thing he says, Emmett, is the ruling on the field is touchdown. And
everybody goes crazy, right? Like, hold on, what's going on?
The Lions fans lose their minds.
Right.
They're like, we're going to the playoffs. That's the craziest win in Lions history. And then the official drops the bomb. We've called offensive pass interference on this play. Now, I think ultimately for everybody in Detroit who's upset, I think forward progress was stopped on this play. There were multiple offensive pass interference calls on that drive. Emmett, how do you unpack the end of what happened Steelers-Lions yesterday with Pittsburgh getting the win and really claiming up first place in the AFC North?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, I like to multitask. Okay, so while I was watching the game, I may or may not have also been playing Call of Duty. All right? So I'm watching the game, and, you know, I'm doing Nuketown, right? I'm doing my thing. And I looked, and I had to put the controller down and turn the game off. I'm like, what is going on? What did I miss here? Listen, it's real simple. If you get a flag, if there's pass interference, it doesn't matter if you scored or not. Right. And I don't know if necessarily that call can be disputed. Was it clunky? Did they take, I don't know, a half an hour to figure it out? Yeah. It was definitely a weird situation, but at the end of the day, offensive pass interference, you don't score. It is what it is. You know, you should have played better the 3 quarters before that.
So the Lions scored 2 touchdowns on offensive pass interference penalties, Emmett, on this drive. I thought the first one was a bogus call.
Okay.
Now, maybe by the letter of the law, the officials, you know, our crew here that works and does a great job with Monday Night Football and our whole team at ESPN would tell me that it's offensive pass interference. But I'm sorry. I've seen the Kansas City Chiefs run that play and get that kind of contact.
They're the Kansas City Chiefs.
Emmett, I have seen them do it play after play, time after time. I saw Edelman and Amendola do the same thing with the Patriots.
They're pros at it.
One thing the league has to clarify here, in my mind, is that the coordinators take pride in rub routes.
Yeah.
Okay, like, you know,
it's part of the game now.
But what's the difference between a rub route and offensive pass interference? Nobody can answer that question to me.
Yeah, it's kind of like a screen and a moving screen in basketball, right? Like, how many times do you see a moving screen not called? A lot. And then it gets called sometimes. So,
but I feel like it's one of those calls where, well, when the official decides that it's a little too moving, you know, when the official decides that it's a little too blatant. Well, funny, you know, there were 8 of these earlier in the game that they didn't call, and now the game's on the line. Detroit just scored the go-ahead touchdown, and there's a flag because the official decided that was too much of a rub. Like, look, I get it. If the receiver blindsides the cornerback, you have to call offensive pass interference. If there's a little bit of contact, again, I see that play run all the time and not get called.
Yeah, but, I mean, did it really just come down to those 2 calls?
No.
So that's where I have a tough time, really, in any game going, oh, they lost because of a call. Nah, maybe it was that 3rd down you didn't convert, you know, earlier in the quarter or earlier in the game when you had an opportunity to, you know, to score a touchdown and you kicked the field goal instead. So I can't put it on the refs. It's a tough break, you know, don't get me wrong, but, you know, so is life in the NFL.
Emmett, the right team, I thought, won the game.
Yes.
Which is, I think, overall important. Jahmyr Gibbs in this game for the Lions had 7 carries for 2 yards.
Wow.
David Montgomery had 4 carries for 14 yards. They ran the ball. This is their identity of a Dan Campbell kneecap-biting squad. They ran the ball for 15 yards. That's 1.3 yards per carry. Emmett, that's not the Lions that became Super Bowl contenders that we know and love against a really banged-up Pittsburgh defense. Meanwhile, the Steelers, Emmett, ran 27 times for 230 yards. They had 8.5 a carry. They got a big, long touchdown run, a 45-yarder from Jaylen Warren, which was a big play in this game. They ran for 2 touchdowns. I just thought line of scrimmage, physicality, those were the places this game was going to be won or lost. Kudos to Pittsburgh. That's where they got this figured out, really, in the long run.
Aaron, for me, as I watched this game, I thought to myself, are we selling the Steelers short? You know, all year long, I've just been like, they're not perfect. You know, they'll make the playoffs because they always do. But will they actually be able to win a game? How far will they go in the playoffs? And I actually feel like the Steelers are playing their best football right now.
Interesting.
Which I can't say I've been used to in years past. Usually they taper off at the end of the season, but right now they're playing some really good football.
Emmett, 22 straight. Let me repeat that. 22 straight non-losing seasons.
Man.
For the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I have a 22-year-old son.
What a
put that in perspective. His whole life, the Steelers haven't had a sub-500
Tomlin's
season.
Never had one. As they go again, they're not going to have enough. And Emmett, they're going to win this division. They're going to be a playoff team. I don't know about dangerous, but at least this time going into the postseason, for everybody that rips on Mike Tomlin for having not won a playoff game in a really long time, they're going to have a quarterback that's done this before. In Aaron Rodgers hosting a playoff game. I don't know who their opponent's going to be, but Emmett, as a Steeler fan, I would think this might be the year that finally the Steelers get over that bugaboo and do end up with a playoff win.
Yeah, and one of the reasons they're, look, the Broncos are great. The Patriots are great. They do have quarterbacks without a ton of experience in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think that is what might give the Steelers a little bit of an edge. Say what you want to about Aaron Rodgers. He has tons of experience in the playoffs, and he has some wins in the playoffs.
He does. It's not all great playoff experience, though.
But when you're there as often as he is, man.
For as good of a regular season Hall of Fame quarterback as Aaron Rodgers has been, his playoff resume, just ask people in Green Bay, is not exactly super stellar. Unsportsmanlike is presented by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, RVs, protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save, Emmett. You go to 1-800-PROGRESSIVE or you go to Progressive.com. All right, up next, we got to talk about the happenings of Saturday night. What happened more? Did the Bears pull off an incredible comeback, or was it an all-time Green Bay choke job? We debate on Sportsmanlike. Has Hammer and Emmett filling in. We talk about that next on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Tomorrow, bowl season continues on ESPN Radio.
Here we go.
First at 2 Eastern, Toledo faces